Salvete, hoc est noster primum lectio in ius Romanum. Quid? Quam? Latinum non intelligis? Bene. Propter hoc in lingua barbarum Britannica. But don't be offended just because I said barbarian. In ancient Greece, those who do not speak Greek were called as barbarians. For them, they were not talking but shouting bar, 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 bar. But for the Romans, those who were not Roman citizens were barbarians. I guess there are no Roman citizens or no one knows ancient Greek among those listening to me. If anyone knows, aspazomai khairete. Anyway, back to the barbarians. Henry Louis Morgan uses this term barbarian for those who's living in a stateless, classless, egalitarian society. According to him, if there is a class structure within a society and there is a state, what you are dealing with is a civilized society. I prefer to use the concept of kinsman instead of barbarian so that it does not slip into a pejorative meaning. I had to make this short introduction because we have a question like, how is law produced, or has law always existed? If you ask this to the Romans, they would say ubi societas ibi ius est, meaning wherever there is a society, there is law. However, what we call law in its crudest form is a set of rules, and law is not the only set of rules that affects the society. For example, there are also customary, moral, and religious rules. So, what distinguishes law from these other rules? State enforcement, of course. Therefore, should we say since a kinship society does not have a state, they cannot have law? So yes, we need to separate the customs of our kin from the law of a civilized society. Oh yes, let's call one law and the other customs. The Romans also called their ancestral customs as mos maiorum. So, where to start with the Roman law? If a Roman state was required for a Roman law, when and how was this Rome founded? According to legend, Remus and Romulus, the children of Mars, the god of war, founded this city and fell into each other. It is said that this city was founded at 10 a.m. in the morning on April 21st, 753 BC. Since what we call a city would not fall from the sky, or Rome was not a mass housing project, its founding date cannot be given actually. Archaeological findings also show that there was a settlement in Rome much earlier, so Rome wasn't built in a day. But this nominal date provides as a convenience. Therefore, we count this as the beginning, ab urbe condita. And when did Rome fall? This is somewhat controversial issue actually. Some historians consider the collapse of Western Rome as 467 AD and refer to Eastern Rome as Byzantium, even though the word Byzantium was coined much later. Some base it on the year 565, when Emperor Justinianus died. The majority of those who base this history are Roman lawyers, because accepting the previous claim would push this great lawgiver out of Roman history. Some consider the accession of Emperor Heraclius to the throne in 610 as a collapse, because Heraclius made the official language of the state to Greek. He is right, considering that during his time there were not many people speaking Latin anymore in the Eastern Roman lands, and Greek was used by the majority of the population. Finally, some consider the year 1453 to be the end of the Roman history. The Turks conquered Constantinople at that time. This date can be carried even further, considering that there were still people who referred to themselves as Romans even after the fall of Rome. First of all, Mehmed II, who took Istanbul, declared himself as Kayseri Rum, that means Roman emperor. Also, the word Tsar, Chazar, in Russian is the Slavic term for Caesar. On the other hand, there is also a state called by the name the Holy Roman Empire. As can be understood, Rome is a great heritage and he has many heirs. As a matter of fact, the period from the founding of Rome in 753 BC to its collapse in 1453 is about 2206 years. We divide this long time into periods in various ways to make it easier to understand. If we divide it politically, that should be kingdom, the regnum era, republic, Respublica era, early empire, Principatus era, late empire, Dominatus era. If we divide it into legal periods, ancient legal era, pre-classical period, classical period, and post-classical period. Or there are also those who divide it into ius civile period and ius gentium period. But this last distinction remains in the minority. No matter how it is divided, the peaceful period known as Pax Romana, that is, the Roman peace, falls right in the middle of them. This was a golden age, and the success of this period is why we still talk about Roman law today. So, why Roman law? Why not Indian, Greek, Egyptian, Babylonian, Sumerian, or Assyrian? Roman law is not the oldest legal system. It is not the first written legal system. It is not the first state. What is its feature? For the Mediterranean people, Rome was the only state. It dominated the known world. You cannot even pitch a tent in the Mediterranean basin without being influenced by Rome, actually. It was such a power that the desire of those outside was not to destroy it, but to be included in it or to dominate it. As a matter of fact, even though Rome was destroyed, Roman law became ius commune, or common law for the Western Europe. And the law of Europeans continue by being articulated on it. But of course, this is not just a simple continuity or habit or tradition. It is a full system, and this rich legal literature was made possible by Pax Romana era. Pax Romana was a peaceful period for the Mediterranean basin. Production and trade developed with the environment of trust provided by Roman Empire, which dominated the entire Mediterranean. So much so that after this period, we see that pottery was replaced by glassware in the Mediterranean basin because glass production increases, glass prices decreases, and the use of glass become widespread. It is debatable whether the development in the glass blowing technique caused this or whether a new technique was discovered with the increasing demand. But it is certain that glass prices decreased by this period and many Romans start to use glassware. Glass cups and pottery may be ordinary objects, but they offer clues about economical structure of the people who use them. According to the Morgan's classification, pottery is the beginning of lower barbarism, animal husbandry is the beginning of middle barbarism, and blacksmithing with iron is the beginning of upper barbarism. Here, pottery technique is an indicator of settlement. A reliable food source is needed for the place in order to settle. In the Neolithic age, with the opportunities offered by the agricultural revolution, these small settlements were established and pottery production began. In this case, glass is also a technique that needs to be taken into consideration. In short, the trade that developed thanks to the stability provided by Rome in the Mediterranean affected the consumption habits and culture of the entire region. This safe environment allowed new techniques to be established. Glass may not be a Roman invention, but Rome made glass accessible. Glass is Rome's forgotten heritage. It is not surprising that classical period of Roman law coincides with this period. As a result, with the increasing level of prosperity, contracts and cases increase, which in turn increases the number of works written on law. Famous jurists on the classical period probably use a lot of glassware. We can compare Rome in this prosperous age to today's European Union, for example, a stable and safe land where goods and services move easily. The same money is used and the same law is applied. Naturally, the increase in the level of welfare also increases the intellectual activities. Such a great economical power is only possible with legal securities. Justitia est fundamentum regnorum, meaning justice is the foundation of the state. It is inevitable that such a structure will even affect the law of other countries. Look, after years, finally iPhone and Android phones use the same charger. The reason for this is the EU regulation put into effect against electronic waste. Manufacturers who want to enter into the EU market produce goods accordingly, and the rest of the world is also affected by this. So, I hope we have found a brief answer to the questions of the historical periods of Rome and the influence of Roman law. See you later.